glasses on for this.
Okay, so we will begin. I don't have my watch on, so it's 6:02. Thank you. And so why don't we begin with the minutes? Did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes? Oh, attendance, see? It's in front of me, it doesn't say attendance, I'm not gonna call it attendance unless somebody reminds me. Okay.
It's okay.
That's right, we always figure it out.
That's
Okay,
right.
so Carolyn Coffey,
Here.
Sarah Pease.
Here.
Virtual.
Here.
Mary Lou Lawrence.
Here.
Megan Rinzi here, and Catherine Harvey are here. So we're missing 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now, did everybody look at the minutes?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Okay, I was not present, so I can't vote on the minutes. but
Motion
that-
to approve the minutes.
We have
as
enough to
written.
still, without me, yeah.
I wasn't.
I wasn't here.
And I wasn't here.
Okay, then we don't have a quorum to approve the minutes,
All
so.
right then.
So we'll
Table
table
the
that,
minutes.
so anybody join
I will
us.
say they were very informative.
Well, okay,
They were
well,
informative
maybe
for
we'll
me
approve
too.
them next time.
Miss the minutes, or if more people join us.
Yeah.
Although, no, that's, how many, you weren't there, I wasn't there.
I was not.
You were there. I was here.
Yeah.
So only
were
2 of you were there, so even if Alex and Steve
Yeah.
join you.
Alex,
still
Steve, and
not
I,
enough.
we need. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have to do that
Next
next time.
week.
Okay.
So I won't write approved minutes in my notes.
Which reminds me that I will not be here at the next meeting, so I'm gonna be
All right, I
away.
might take
I
special
know, I'm
notes
sorry to
to-
miss 2 meetings, almost back to back, but,
It happens. I had to do that. Just happens.
yeah.
You know, life gets in the way.
It does occasionally.
Oh, here's
here's
Steve. Yay. Put
Sorry.
Steve in.
Came back
Around
from
here.
Weston
Okay.
Thank you.
via 128.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
So it took you 9 hours?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so we, just to catch you up, could not approve the minutes because several of us were not here, and so there's not a quorum of members present, or trustees present to approve the minutes, so that's been tabled. That's all you missed. So with
That's all I
that,
missed?
that's all you missed.
Wow.
Yes. So take it away, Megan.
Thank you. So for my director's report this month, I'm doing something a little bit different and exciting. So Michael Roderick is here with us tonight. He is our
Welcome,
circulation.
Michael.
He is
you.
our
Hi, Michael.
circulation supervisor, for those of you who don't know. Michael has been working very hard on an extremely extensive project regarding the setup of our collection. Our collection was put into place 20 years ago. And the way that it was put 20 years ago made sense for 20 years ago. However, circulation has changed and our collection has changed and we've added different things. And so we thought it'd be a great time to take a look at a data-driven look at where our collections are placed and how they're doing and what changes we might make, not only for our collection, but for the flow of the library with the upcoming pavilion. So I'm gonna let Michael present his information.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for allowing me to be here. Just again, my name is Michael Roderick. I am a circulation supervisor. Just a little bit about my role real quick is I oversee the circulation department at the library, which includes all the circ staff, the volunteers, our shelvers, essentially anything if a book is checked out or returned, it revolves around my department in some way, shape, or form. Another role of my department is keeping track of our circulation statistics for every single collection we have in the library. And this project sort of rose out of looking at the numbers and then also seeing our space allocation for the collections and noticing some troublesome numbers and thinking about how we can change that and better align ourselves with other libraries in the modern field. I'm just going to start out by passing out a spreadsheet with our adult collection statistics for this calendar year so far.
You can just tell me slides.
Perfect. So this is a presentation that's going to focus on a new proposed layout for the adult collection of Paul Pratt Memorial Library.
I'm glad I brought my glasses.
So we're going to focus first on, this is part of our community answers from the strategic plan survey that went out 2 years ago now, I think.
No, fairly recent. No, just fairly recently.
It was for the 2022 strategic plan, so
Last year.
But it
Last-
was last year.
last year,
A year and a
okay,
half ago. So this survey would have been a year and a half.
perfect.
6 months ago.
But as you can see, what our community feedback was is a lot of people are coming to the library to borrow bestsellers, popular fiction books, and nonfiction books. Those were the top 3 responses from community members about why they're coming to the library. With almost half of all respondents coming for either some sort of bestseller or fiction material. Now this is the percent of the adult collections circulating each month for 2022. This number, just a quick brief about what this number means, is how much of a collection is circulating on a monthly basis. So if you want to look at it real quick, nothing of our collection is really, and this is the top 5 collections. So our fiction, nonfiction, biography, mystery, and audiobook collection are the 5 largest collections we have in the library for the adult department. Nothing for last year really met the 10% threshold, which for a library of our size is considered a healthy number of a collection circulating on a monthly basis. The only collections that really saw that were the audiobook and the fiction collection, and the fiction collection really only saw that for 2 months. Yes.
Does this reflect the books that people will take out on Hoopla and
This is just focusing on our physical
our
collection.
physical collection? Okay.
Yeah, this is just our physical.
But what is really troublesome is when you look at our biography collection, which is our 5th largest collection in the library, is only roughly circulating around 2.5% to 3% of our entire biography collection each month. And if you take a look at the spreadsheet real quick, you can see that our total collection size for the biography collection is 1,371 materials. And so roughly only 2.5% to 3% a month is that collection circulating. And this is considered a very troublesome number for a modern library, public library, as it means we are allocating shelf space for materials that are not going out. And really at the end of the day, for a lot of our state funding, OCLN, circulation numbers are what help determine funding for us. I want to move on to 2023.
Michael, is that, can we ask questions as you go?
Certainly, yeah.
Is that common amongst libraries of small towns to have? No.
It depends. For us, we are a very active community for our library. I can actually pass around a statistic for our children's department, which shows a lot more about what a healthy department circulation numbers look like. If you want to pass that around. But for our adult department, we are not seeing healthy numbers whatsoever.
The space that's being allocated to certain collections are not collections that are being used frequently enough to justify the space that they have.
Is that, is there any way to know, is that because the content is not the content that people are looking for? Are they getting biographies, but they're getting them through the OCLN network because it's other biographies than those which we have on our shelves? Or is that people aren't checking out biographies?
So it's a compound of different situations going on. One is, and I'll sort of touch upon this later on, but I can talk about it a little bit now, is some of our collections are significantly outdated in materials or not reflective of what people are interested in nowadays. Other aspects of it are maybe we don't have enough of numbers for popular biographies that are happening or coming up, such as like Prince Harry's and like
The Musk one.
Yeah. And if you take a look at our collection, walking down the shelves, you can see a lot of the materials, maybe not for the biography collection after we've gone through it a bit, but it is concerning with, and I'll touch upon this like nonfiction, how much of it is older than 10 to 20 years, and how not well kept up it has been in what is needed or desired in our community.
So just the acquiring has not kept up with the trend, is what you're saying?
I think public libraries are really moving to a popular materials model. So we really need to have things that are relevant and new and popular,
As opposed to like a Pulitzer Prize winner.
somebody's gonna come in and ask for a Kim Kardashian biography over looking for, King George.
Mhm.
So, and so we have King George, but we don't have Kim Kardashian. So we really need to start looking at, people are looking for, our highest circulating magazine is Hello Magazine. And it knocks all the other ones out of the water.
Followed by People Magazine.
Yes. So people aren't coming here to look for scholarly materials. I think it's important that we have some, and that we have a well-rounded collection. But I think we need to change our spending habits a little bit, and we have been.
Mhm.
But I think we also need to change our space habits as well.
It's interesting because I ordered a book, a Pulitzer Prize winner back in Milan Kundera, I think back in the 80s, he might have written this book. And I had to wait longer for it off OCLN than you'd have to wait for Zadie Smith's Fraud today. Yeah.
So I was just wondering, I remember back our library director, like 3 library directors ago, he was kind of concerned with this overall collection that kind of filled in also with the OCLN so that there would be certain things. And so I'm sure somebody's overlooking that too.
Meaning
So-
like balanced throughout the
Yeah, so
network.
So the
Mary Lou's
Kundera is
book,
available.
somebody would have had it in one of our libraries, that
So-
kind of thing.
And we can sort of talk about those numbers as well, briefly.
Yeah, and also because we're one of the smaller libraries in OCLN, I don't want to say it's less of our responsibility to have some of these materials that are less popular, because we just don't have the space and we're not expected to have the space. So Quincy would be more likely to hold on to something, or Stoughton or Randolph or one of the bigger libraries that they think, maybe they look and they go to discard it, but they see that only, 4 other libraries have it, they might then keep it.
Yeah.
The expectation in the network would be that we would not keep it because we're a small library, our space is limited.
And our numbers, just to touch upon this real quickly, our numbers when it comes to how we're sharing interlibrary materials with network libraries, we're looking at very healthy numbers there. 60% of our checkouts for a lot of the nonfiction, biography, and mystery collections, 3 of our larger collections, we're seeing about ratios of 60% of Cohasset residents checking out those materials versus 40% going into transit, which shows that still a majority of our checkouts in these collections are our patrons rather than network libraries requesting materials from us.
Yeah, so, sorry, so you mentioned a couple things that are interesting to me. The idea of penetration to against recency versus, obviously, like something that's over 10 years old.
Mhm.
But also, is the mix wrong? I mean, biography is clearly important,
Mhm.
but these are the most, I guess the assumption is, these are the volumes that we have in circulation, that we have on the shelves. Are we missing opportunities in other areas because we're distorted in these? We've got a big penetration on
That's the
this,
point. Yeah.
but is the mix wrong? Like, not just
Yes.
these 5 categories, so clearly we can do better jobs within these 5 categories, but are we missing opportunities in other areas?
I think very much so. And I'll touch upon our entire adult collection. I just want to sort of focus on this for the graph, the 5 largest. But our space allocation is not reflective of the modern day need for all our adult sub-collections, really. You'll see this a lot with like our paperback collection specifically, which is only the total of about 433 items. But it circulates 18% of its entire collection each month.
Oh, wow.
And our total circulations for that is higher than our biography collection, which is triple its size.
That speaks to that. Okay. So that's how to read this document?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
And if you have any questions about how to read this document, please let me know and I can go over it very briefly to talk about that. But good, when comparing, especially like the biography, new fiction, the fiction and nonfiction numbers, it's good to look at our new materials, which is the bottom line here, and see how those are going out. And then as soon as something's moved into the general collection, how quickly those circulation numbers
Ooh,
sort of
yeah.
drop.
That's very evident.
Which shows that a lot of our circulation comes from people checking out new materials or very recent materials and then waiting for the next new material to come out.
How do you define a new?
The new, for our new shelf right now is, we received it within the last 4 to 6 months. Yeah. And then this is just to show the size of the collections. You'll see the hard numbers here on the spreadsheet itself. But as you can see, nonfiction makes up a majority of our large collections. Even our lowest 3 sizable collections come nowhere close, even if you add them all together, to how big our nonfiction collection is. It takes, when you look at our shelf space, which if you want to go to the next slide, it's a little hard to read, unfortunately, but that whole bottom row, I can actually, yeah, if you want to pass this around real quick. What's passing around right now is the proposed layout, but it's a good to reflect to see where the shelf spacing is right now. This whole, actually got as well. This whole area right here is nonfiction collection, which is double the size amount of space we have allocated for our fiction collection, which circulates on par with our nonfiction collection, even though double of the space is allocated for nonfiction. So our fiction collection, which is about 5,000 materials smaller than our nonfiction collection, is circulating the same amount as our nonfiction collection. Does that make sense?
Could I just ask, but a lot of people come into the nonfiction section. They don't necessarily take out the book because a lot of that is to perch in the library and thumb through something. So that doesn't mean the book, that doesn't get recorded anywhere. That book has actually been used and.
Yeah, it doesn't record that, but when it comes to funding and allocating budgetary things, our circulation numbers is how the state is going to look at how we get funding.
Well, and how many people thumb through a few things versus checking out? Probably a lot less. People
Not a
will
lot.
come in and just look through, and then, because they're putting it back, saying like, I don't want to look at this any longer, you know, so they might thumb through something, they might look at it, but its interest is short. And so we really want things that people are they're interested in, they're gonna take home, they're gonna read.
But it's interesting to follow up on your question. If you're trying to learn about a particular area, you might pull it out and read the opening paragraphs and the conclusion, put it back, and you might go through multiples. If your goal is to get a feeling for an overall perspective on that particular nonfiction area. Whereas if you're taking something out for just pure enjoyment of reading it, then you're dedicated to the book every page. But just for curiosity, what percentage of the people at the table read all of the book, the entire contents of the book?
With
Of
what
what
book
For
they took out?
nonfiction?
Any book.
For nonfiction?
Yeah, say if you take all the books you've read out of school, since school.
Well, in school, we never read.
No, but
So-
to your point though, I mean, I have definitely come here and for discussion club purposes, for example, and I have a topic and I will go to the shelf on that area and look at all the books and figure out, and with nonfiction in particular, I want to be able to underline it and take notes. So I will look at it and spend some time with it and think, oh, this is a winner, and then go buy it. So it's still providing value, even though I may not, check it out for a month,
The numbers we're looking at though for our nonfiction collection is showing that on like a 10-year scale. So over a period of like 10 years, people have done the same exact thing. The book has been flipped through or not touched whatsoever. And that is really drawing the point of why has no one ever wanted to check out this material within the last 10 to 7 years? Is it simply because it's great to just flip through but never check out? Or is it because it's not the book they're looking for? It's maybe a good starting point, and then they find the book right next to it that they're looking for, and that's the better interest. And at the end of the day, that is taking up valuable space for future nonfiction materials that are demanded from our future.
What are the subcategories of nonfiction?
Oh,
my
so,
God,
there's a
yeah,
gazillion
the
of them.
entire Dewey Decimal System.
Sorry, I get that. but
Yeah.
So,
So gardening,
So-
recipes,
History,
cookbooks.
politics.
So I'll come in here and look at a number of recipes, maybe for a cassoulet or
To,
something, just to compare. But I'm not gonna take them out.
I love cassoulet, take it out. There's a whole book on cassoulet, I would love that. No, but sorry, indulge me. So you must have done this, because I would have been like, okay, well, what are the top performers? So what are the top performers?
Top performers are cooking, home design / interior decorating, true crime, gardening,
Gardening, yeah.
and US history.
What are the duds?
Duds, religion, self-help,
Poetry.
poetry is a big one, or literature review. Sports and hobbies is another big
What
one.
about travel?
Travel's another big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one, but it also is one of our smaller collections because we don't keep travel books that are outdated by 5 years.
Right.
So-
So now, the follow-up question is, what is the penetration of, and over the past 5 to 10 years, where, I mean, there has to be a correlated expression on Google searches versus one to come in and look at a book. Like, that's why I was asking the question, because it never occurred to me that to look at for a nonfiction book, I Googled it, right?
Mhm.
I mean, am I that?
Well, and so now
That
too, are these books very young?
Well-
Sitting on the shelf?
It's tactical.
But-
Like, it's-
Yeah,
to me,
But if you
it's-
look at the demographics who use the library, maybe a large number of people would come in first and look at the books
Do you
before
have
they would
that,
Google
do
it.
you have those numbers at all? I guess it's hard to measure, like how many people are perusing and how many people are actually checking.
No
Do you
way.
see, like, the
There's no way to measure
There's no
perusing.
can, right?
No, but the thing about perusing
Or
too
just by
is
eyes, like can you see? There's a lot.
sometimes, like magazines will check to see if pages are ruffled, or like newspapers too.
And we
will
do
check.
do periodical patron surveys of like, what are you reading in our periodical collection versus what's being checked out.
On your survey that you did initially, what percentage of our population have actually used this library?
So about half of the Cohasset population has library cards, which is pretty good, but that includes the children too. So that's pretty, I mean,
But
that's favorable.
let's say you have a library card and you haven't used it for a year. So do you have some sort of statistics of what percentage of those with library cards are frequent users?
So if you don't use your library card in 3 years, it gets purged from our system.
Okay.
So if you
That's
don't,
good.
so
That's
that's kind of the metric.
The-
You have to use
what-
it every 3 years to stay in the
And
member.
the good metric of sort of that is looking at how many are being purged a year. And we don't see a significant decrease on a year to year of how many
No.
purges are happening.
We did through COVID a little bit, which makes sense,
Okay.
but the other thing to note too about these books that are on our shelves that aren't being checked out here, it's also important to note that they're also not being checked out in any of the 27 other libraries.
Okay,
in
that's
our
what's gonna be my
Oh, okay.
next question.
So, you know, it
Yeah,
might,
okay.
they might be glanced at here, if somebody's just browsing, but there's also 27 other libraries here.
Okay, that's a good
and No
statistic.
one from there is interested in checking them out.
Yes.
Now, what about, let's say
Okay.
of the people that have library cards, let's say it's the 80-20, 20% of the people are the majority of the users. And how representative are they of our population? Are there huge swaths of our population that we're completely missing?
Wasn't it like the 20s? Or were we missing
Yeah, I
like
mean,
the
it's usually the
20-year-olds?
20s and early 30s. We usually lose people when they go to college, and we usually win them back once they have little kids, is kind of
Okay.
the general.
We
Is
should
that,
probably hear Michael's proposal and then go back to
Sure.
some of the questions and stuff.
it's just fun to ask
It's
questions.
No, no. Yeah, because you know what?
Yeah.
Chase for that, a 30% cut in nonfiction.
I will get to that in a moment.
Can I just, one,
Yeah.
what's GN? I can't wrap my brain.
Graphic novel,
Oh, right, okay.
And they're doing really well now, aren't they?
yes.
Which
yeah.
is a new collection,
Yeah.
only really since Michael started, we implemented that collection. We weren't really sure how it was gonna go. Actually, I guess Nick started it,
Yeah.
but we weren't really sure how it was gonna go, and it exploded. So it's kind of another collection that we didn't have, and we
Mm-hmm.
continuously don't have great space for, but it's a high circulating.
But that also falls under children's fiction, right?
No,
So there's a,
Right?
it would, yeah, anime, there's a dedicated, children's graphic novel collection as well, and that circulates very well as well. The same with YA, there's a dedicated, adult graphic novel collection.
So we have graphic novels for adults.
yes.
Yeah. It's a very big, growing, booming
Really?
literary field.
Yes.
Wow. Sorry to, why don't you go through with yours? I have so many questions.
Yeah.
Let's go swimming look.
So this is our proposed layout, which everyone has a copy of in front of them.
So before Michael starts, I just want to say that we've seen something similar to this before, and we utilized some plans that we received from Stafura, who suggested when we were doing our furniture plans to possibly move our shelving. So that's kind of where some of this idea bubbled from and then expanded. So, sorry.
No worries. Yeah, so this is just the proposed layout real quick. And I'll sort of go, if you want to go to the next slide, since everyone has a copy of this, I can go over sort of the major bullet points about why this layout is sort of the way we're going. One of the major things that has sort of become a concern, especially with the development of the pavilion and a new entrance to the building, is sightlines from the circulation desk to that new entrance. Right now, because of the way the steps are laid out, you can't see that corner of the building from the front desk, nor can you really see it from the reference desk. And if that's going to be a major entrance, we want to be able to welcome people from the front desk and sort of motion for them to come here to check out materials, wave to them, smile. And we can't do that right now.
It's not also super secure.
Exactly, that is
Yeah.
right now one of our emergency exits, and we can't see it. So if there, God forbid, was ever an emergency, it would make it very complicated in trying to evacuate people when you can't point out where the exit is. Secondly, sort of streamlining the collection. You'll notice that we have sub-collections for fiction, for science fiction and mystery. And right now, those are underutilized. Patrons aren't really looking for separation of a fiction collection. Most of the time, it actually leads to confusion because patrons come in looking for a specific author, and if they're broken up between a mystery and a fiction collection, it complicates the browsing for them because now they have to go back and forth. And the numbers sort of show that subcategorizing our fiction hasn't really worked out for us. And it's sort of a segment of librarianship that's moving away from it. And more, we're looking at genre labeling, putting a genre sticker on it and keeping it all in one place to make it easier for people to browse. Another big thing is we want to expand our display in new collections. Again, if you look at the statistics, this is where a good chunk of our circulation comes from, is being on the new shelf, the front shelf. People come in, it's brand new materials. If we can keep things longer on that shelf, the circulation will increase because it's on that shelf. More people are going to see it. When you're looking at the trend of how people walk into the library and where they're standing, where they go, they're not walking all the way to the back to browse the end shelf of fiction. They come in, want to see new stuff, they look at the display table, and then they gather the 4 to 5 books they're looking for, and then they check out. So if something's on the new collection and we're really tight certain months, so at some points we only get 3 to 4 months for our materials on there, it can really, that's miscirculation for us because it's being moved to general circulation away from our new. We want to expand fiction. Fiction is a big driver of our circulation right now. Like I was sort of talking about earlier, even though it's 5,000 materials smaller than our nonfiction collection, it only has a difference of 68 total circs for the calendar year so far. 68 checkouts is what's separating it. 68. And for our fiction collection, we are seeing a healthy number of 9.21% of our fiction collection going up, which is healthy for a library that size. If we were to expand fiction to be the same size as nonfiction, we would be seeing around an average of 1,000, 1,100 materials going out in that collection a month. So right now, that is a miss of 300 to 400 circulations a month for us as well. And sort of,
is that breadth or depth discussion, or both? Is that a breadth or depth discussion? Do you need more do you need more units of specific items, or do you just need more items, just more volumes?
More volume is what we sort of need. We need more fiction space. Because of how our fiction collection is right now, we have to go through it more regularly than we do our nonfiction collection, which means newer materials might be not staying on as long as they should be because we don't have the space to keep everything.
So you're weeding out younger fiction materials and the older stuff that's not moving in nonfiction is just sitting there.
Yes, exactly. And this goes to reducing nonfiction bloat. Right now, we have over 2,000 items that have not been checked out in 7 or more years in our nonfiction collection. And again, as Megan was saying, this includes the entire network. This includes Commonwealth catalog, so the entire state. No checkout for these materials in over 7 years, in 7 or more years.
Are there other libraries that have taken this strategy to their collections and have 2, 3, 4 years of experience?
I mean, you can talk about Randolph and the nonfiction collection.
Yeah, so in Randolph in the nonfiction, so generally the rule for nonfiction is 5 years. If it doesn't go out in 5 years, it's gotta go. It also depends too on like what we're talking about. Is it a history book or is it a technology book? But regardless, if nobody's interested in it, no matter what it is, it really needs to go. It also depends on your budget and, you know, what your collection currently looks like. So there's a lot of different things that go into a meeting. It's not just, it hasn't gone out, it goes. It kind of depends, does another library have this? You know, certain things like that. So in Randolph, we had a very strict 5-year situation, and the collection there is beautiful. Like everything is like very brand new. Everything, when you go to our nonfiction collection in Randolph, you would know that your item is up to date. You're not getting something that's 20 years old. The information's correct, all those types of things. So we were pretty diligent about that there. We had the funds to be able to do that at that time. So there's a whole bunch of factors that come into, but it really, it was a very nice nonfiction collection.
Try to be more specific. So we have examples of libraries that have taken this strategy and done really well as a result.
Yeah, so so we're bringing our library into a modern library. So I would say most libraries have started to move, and if not, have completed this process.
As Megan said, the trend in the field is nonfiction, 5 years or more, it goes. And if you talk to Situate, Hanover, Hingham, other libraries in the network, they stand by these standards heavily. Again, because they don't have the space to keep things that are not circulating on the shelves when there are new items coming in that people want to circulate.
And we have to keep our content still relevant. We don't want Excel, how to use Excel, 2019 on our shelf anymore, because we need to have, the newest thing. So it does depend on the item, how quickly you want it to travel. I mean, we'll get rid of anything that's more than 2 years old in travel because it's not relevant anymore, or there are things on there that might not actually, there's businesses on there that might not be there. So, it does depend, but we've been working on this really since I started working here in Cohasset. We had materials that hadn't circulated in 10 plus years. So we have been doing this, but we need to continue to do it. And we don't want to be too aggressive at this time because we felt like we didn't want to clear out all the shelves and make it, the perspective not so great. So once we can switch the shelves around, I think we'll do a really healthy weed and a really healthy purchase and kind of beef up some collections that are outdated and still have a really nice, well-rounded collection, but it just doesn't need to be quite as large.
And sort of jump off that, when you're looking at materials, one of the best examples, when going through the nonfiction collection, we had 2 rows dedicated to poetry materials that almost 80% of it has not gone out in 10 or more years, which is
reflection of the culture.
But it also shows that those are 2 rows that we could be using for space of more gardening books, more cookbooks, more of a collection that people are interested in browsing and checking out for our patrons. So this is not simply like, we're getting rid of materials, it's about condensing and reforming the collection to be exactly what people are looking for, and something that they want to browse it. They don't want to have to go through 2 rows of materials that aren't relevant to what they're looking for. Sort of touch upon this as well. We have a lot of our items that sort of in relevancy that are also not in good condition on the nonfiction collection as well. We have, last I checked, it was in the 600s of our items that are from the Cohasset Free Library, which has now been an institution for over 40 years now. And a lot of these,
They belong in the historical room.
that's as we're going through, we're finding
Part of
this.
the reason why we're expanding our cabinets is, some of the stuff could certainly move into the historical room.
And it should be in, like, if it needs to be in some place where it can be preserved, and if people are interested, they can find it easily instead of having to go to the nonfiction collection and trying to pull it off the shelf. And our final point, this is the end slide too, is with the pavilion and sort of rebrand going on, if that's going to be a main entrance, we want it to come into a collection space that they want to see and be in. So by having our fiction collection being at our main entrance door and then also at this new entrance door, that sort of meets that no matter where you're coming in, you're seeing the collection that you're most likely coming here for first. Again, going back to that first slide, almost half of our entire community feedback is they're coming to the library to find a fiction book. And so by having those collections be the ones closest to the doors, we can meet the need of at least 50%, if not more, of our patrons that come in through the door. That's the end of the presentation. I am happy to take questions now. Yes.
So what's success look like and what does it cost?
Cost, that's,
I can talk about that.
okay.
You want to start this conversation? So we started to noodle, how we implement this, and also review some of the other things that are going on in our building. I don't know if you've noticed, but we have 3 large lights out in our main space. We have some deep cleaning that really needs to be done. We have some staff training that would really be ideal that we can do. We're in a situation right now where we're open 7 days a week, and we're open 56 hours during the week. So staff training and things like that is very difficult to do. So what I am proposing is that the library close for an amount of time. And we are thinking the week after Christmas and the week after New Year's, so that we can do some of these things that we need to take care of. We will be doing what we learned how to do in COVID, and doing like a item pickup in our meeting room so that people still have access to materials. But we're hoping that we could take this time to work with facilities to flip our shelves. This is going to be an extensive amount of work. And we need facilities to bring in their scaffolding so they can lower the lights, so they can fix our large lighting. We need to have a company come in and do some deep cleaning. And I would love to do some really extensive trainings with the staff. I think we're starting to fall short in that department. And we really need to work on, Alice training and customer service training and working
What was the
together.
first, phrase?
Alice, it's
Yeah.
the active shooter training.
Oh, okay.
Some more safety trainings we've done in the past during COVID. We were able to do a lot of this type of thing, but ever since we've reopened, we really haven't had the chance. A lot of libraries do quarterly closures. We haven't done that. I think, after this, that's something that we should take a look at. Just like a quarterly 1-day staff training type thing. But I feel that we have a lot of projects that need to go on in times that we're closed. And I think with the addition of this, I would hope for the trustees' approval to do that.
Why those 2 weeks?
We chose those 2 weeks because our numbers are very low, and we pulled the statistics for that.
The week after Christmas is our slowest week of the entire year.
Is it?
About 9.2% of our entire December visitation is that week, which is, there's 4 weeks in a month.
Yeah.
That's a low amount for a week. If our entire visitation is only 9% for that week. December is also our lowest visitation month in general as well. And then that week of New Year's as well, that first week of January, is within our top 10 of our slowest weeks as well.
It was, I think, 12%.
Yeah, 12% of our
Wow.
entire January visitation is in that first week. In December, January are our two slowest months of the year.
I really think it's great to focus on more training. And if that helps you do that, that's excellent.
Do we, do we have the rug squares in the basement still?
Yes.
So, because when we shift the shelves, they put the squares around them.
Yes,
The shelves aren't sitting on them,
right, well, yeah.
so there's probably gonna be some.
Yeah, we talked to facilities about this. They're also all, as they should be, bolted to the floor. So they're bolted to the concrete floor. So another reason we chose these dates is because they work for facilities team. We asked them to, what would work best for them as well. So yeah, there's a lot of, there's a lot of work to be done to make this happen. But I think if we have a little time with the library closed and not actively with patrons, but allowing them to pick up holds, I think we can achieve.
So I can go back to the question, what's it gonna cost and what does success look like?
So free-ish. I mean, we have all the shelves.
You're not gonna put in more books?
Well, we have that in our materials budget already, so we would just spend our current budget.
It's a different allocation, in other
Yeah.
words. So they'd be weeding out the nonfiction and maybe allocating more of the materials budget to fiction and less to nonfiction.
You're not netting up an increase in spend.
Are we gonna, do we still participate in the leasing program for the Red Hot Reads? And is that an area that we should do more of, for example?
Yes, if you look at our statistics for that collection, it is circulating like crazy. We see that collection growing up almost 120% entirety, which means a book in that collection circulates multiple times within a month, most likely.
Wow, yikes.
The Red Hot Read collection, which is about 350 materials, circulates about half as much as our entire fiction and nonfiction.
So is it a more cost-effective solution to lease those books
115%.
for a year or two than to purchase extra copies? Something to think about, don't it?
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, if we're expanding that and gonna give more shelf space to it, just thinking about how to allocate our materials budget most cost effectively. Going back to so the cost is pretty much taken care of, but what does success look like? Do you expect circulation figures to increase up over 10% for each of the, is that the hope anyway?
That's the hope.
For each of the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, that's the hope. And that we create collections that people of Cohasset are looking for. I mean, people are coming in, they're looking for paperbacks, and it's a very small collection. So data-wise, yes, we'd like to see it go over 10%, but, customer service-wise, we want people to come in and find what they're looking for, and we're not providing that right now. So
Is that 10% number sort of the library gold standard, or do libraries publish their statistic? Like, do you know what other biographies and other libraries circulate at, like, what percentage, or nonfiction? Is that public information? Or?
So it's not public information, and part of the reason is every library is different. Some libraries don't have a dedicated biography collection, it's interfiled with nonfiction. Some don't have a lot of biographies in general. So the way you catalog a collection is up to an individual library. Every library will have a fiction and nonfiction collection, but when it comes to the sub-collections of like biography, mystery, that sort of thing, it's up to the library about whether or not we create these or not. The general statistic that is available for sort of talking to other libraries is seeing how often does your nonfiction collection grow each month? How often does your fiction collection grow each month? And what does that look like? And again, the trend is fiction is always going out more than nonfiction.
So this is more anecdotal in terms of comparing to other libraries than.
yeah, we don't have, most libraries don't run something like this. They should, but they don't, at least on a regular basis. So I wouldn't say if we asked, hang on, like, hey, can you show us something that looks like this?
I just didn't know where the 10% target number came from. That was where I was getting.
Oh, this is just kind of a library school number, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
It's,
the number they teach us at school, like where you wanna be.
Fair
but
enough.
I don't think that we know really for sure, like, what other libraries, I think they're all striving for that as well. I don't know how many have achieved it, but
So sorry, where are we operating at right now as a whole, as a library?
for our entire circulation, for our total adult collection right now, we're seeing 34,000 materials checked out so far in the year. Compare that to the children's collection, which is 50,000 materials.
That's also because children's books get checked out 10 or 12 at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And, you know, where adults check out 1 or 2 at a time
Mhm.
generally.
Yeah.
But
And there's,
But
I mean,
it's-
it's not competing, but it's just an example
Yeah.
of, you know, where we could start going. Because this is a popular library, it's very well used and well loved by the community. And we see that in our numbers for the children's department, and I think we could see more of that in our adult collection.
capitalize on that in the adult.
Well, and we keep talking, we've always talked, and we're always talking about trying to reach those people, like you were saying, the 20s, 30s, So, I mean, it's certainly not gonna, bringing in more robust, more relevant materials, certainly gonna help. And of
Thank
course,
you, Michael, for all this
Yes,
analysis.
yes.
Oh, of course,
This
I'm
is
happy to.
fantastic
No,
to
thank
know.
you. I'm
Yeah.
happy to have come and talk and present to you all, and thank you so much for having me.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you
hope
for-
I
thank
hope
you
you'll
for
come back.
being
That was an
Oh, I would
excellent
love to come
presentation.
back.
You can tell how hard you worked on it, how much it means to you, too.
Thank you. Does anyone have any last questions for me before I head out? No? I
You're
also-
free.
I also brought some bookmarks that the circulation department has recently designed that are all done in-house, were all unique design as well, that sort of fit to a new marketing style that we're sort of going for. Feel free to take as many as you want, there's 4 of each type.
Always looking for books.
I know, me too.
That's
Um,
nice, I see you've got all this
Let's
stuff.
see, put.
Yeah,
Info
on
on
the
the back and
on
all
the
that
back,
stuff.
we have our hours and our contact information as well.
Oh, that's great.
I'm just trying to get one out there so people can see them.
Oh, okay, I thought you were deciding I
No,
want.
no, no.
I thought you were just giving them.
All right, get out while we get to Michael.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
again.
thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you,
Great job.
Michael.
Thank you, that was great.
Thank you.
I made my choice.
Who would like that?
So I'm just gonna say this has nothing to do with library, but I work at Buttonwood and these are the same questions that we do all the time in the same categories. Everything's the same in the retail book business.
Yeah, interesting.
He's just wonderful.
He's
really
great,
is. He's really great, and he worked really hard
What
on
a
this.
find.
Yeah.
What a find,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
His analysis was so detailed.
Yes, and he's just always so
Yeah.
helpful
He is so
and,
helpful.
and,
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
and kind.
yes.
Yeah, never gets impatient with me.
But no one else.
My
does.
No.
Is it weird that I can't get cassoulet out of my head? I'm hungry.
I have to bring that in.
I have
I
a-
just saw that on the menu recently and I have been craving it ever since.
Right?
I love
Dish,
that.
I know,
So
it's my
good.
favorite dishes of all time.
Yeah,
too.
mine too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read that.
Onward.
Did I read what's on it?
You saw it on the new menu for the
I
golf
did.
course.
That's exactly where I
That's
saw it.
probably where it came to my head. You know, it's a-
Not that I want.
I don't know what kind of
that particular
job
cassoulet,
Chris can do.
but- Yeah, that's what I said. I don't necessarily want that cassoulet.
So, Megan, just to sort of draw a line under it, so
Yeah.
what do you need from us to approve the moving of the shelves and the closing of the library for a period of days to get the work done?
Yes, please.
Okay. Do we have any further discussion on those points or
No.
questions on those points for Megan?
No, I vote we go ahead.
Second.
The only thing I wanted to mention is for that week between Christmas and New Year's, obviously you want to let families know that you're going to be closed. Excuse me. And maybe, were you going to do curbside?
Yeah, we're gonna do like meeting room, like kind of like our
I
second
actually have a
phase.
question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we have the children's room open? Is there a way to like cordon that off?
Yeah,
I
was
just,
wondering the same
Christmas
thing.
week, for those people who aren't off
Who are
skiing,
traveling,
Yeah.
you know,
yeah.
it might mean a lot for them to be able to come in and use the children's room.
That's my
Yeah.
concern, yeah.
Let me think about that. I think initially that sounds like a great idea, but what that could turn into is
Right,
That
the
means
mother, the
staff
mother who
and-
says, I
and
can
kids
duck under these
running
low
Yeah.
and,
changes.
And you can't get everybody together. in
corralling
one room, yeah.
people and, taking away from what we need to be doing.
I'm wondering if it could be addressed in, if you're gonna do curbside to sort of promote the closing along with, this is, we're gonna have this special thing available from a certain make and take craft or something, or, when you and I talked yesterday, I was thinking maybe, if like, there could be maybe one day during that week that's open, maybe the first day of that week that's open, and then just to
Right, so-
remind,
So
this
Christmas
is
is
the
on a
day to come
Monday.
to the
Yes.
library.
So is New Year's Day.
Yeah, so Christmas is on a Monday, so it would be closed Monday, Tuesday anyway, right?
Mhm.
Or at
Just
least Monday,
Monday,
just Monday. So yeah, so maybe it can be open Wednesday,
Right.
or
something.
even for 4 hours or something, like just giving people the opportunity to come in and switch out their children's books or something like that, or,
Yeah.
let the kids flip through something.
Yeah, again, or,
Yeah.
just like a certain time when it might be open during that week, and also just like letting people know, if you can't do that, to maybe we're offering you this instead.
The pickup.
Yeah,
And I don't generally do this, but I think we can also plug our neighbor libraries at that
I
point
was
too.
gonna say that
mean,
too.
to
Yeah.
say like, our hours are gonna be limited or none at all, but, take this opportunity to check out Norwell and
Hingham,
Situate and
yeah.
Hingham, and that they have beautiful
Yeah, that's
libraries too.
true.
yeah,
That's
a
a good idea.
Yeah,
I'd hate to, direct them in other libraries, but I think, they're a
Well,
resource to us
as a
and we're a
Band-Aid.
resource to them at times when they need to close for different things. So, I think
well,
that's
yeah,
something we can
thinking
do.
back to COVID times when you were serving people from all of the surrounding towns and their libraries were closed and you guys were you were handing books out every day,
Right.
so, true.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a partnership, there's a competitive partnership there.
Reciprocation,
amongst us.
yes, yeah.
So it sounds like there's a variety of solutions from A, communication, plan ahead, B, come and pick it up, C, visit additional libraries and keep you guys focused on what you need to do in the library.
That is what I prefer. I empathize what you're saying and I hear what you're saying, but I just feel like we have too many elements of opening and closing and things out, then the work's not getting done. And that would be a disaster at the end of the 2 weeks to go, oh, we didn't finish, or,
Right.
whatever.
You have a
So-
lot of things that you're trying to bite off with this, so with that having been expressed, I think we leave it in your capable hands to figure it out.
Yeah.
So do-
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do I hear a motion to allow, is it already
Mary
made?
motioned and I seconded.
Okay, so all in favor, we don't need a roll call for this, do we?
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
Great, thank you.
Oh, that's gonna be big,
Yes,
exciting.
that is
Exciting,
exciting,
yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a nice dovetail with, what we hope to be, our beautiful outdoor space.
Yeah, really great.
Anything else in your report?
That's it for me.
All right. Bills.
Yes, so Bronwyn is in Morocco, being fabulous in Morocco. So I have the bills here. Nothing out of the ordinary. Mostly books. Did anybody have any specific questions?
I don't have any questions on the bills. I have a question on something I saw on fines.
Okay,
We received a check for like $271 or something for fines from this woman. Oh, I didn't realize we still have.
we don't do fines, so if it's a fee, if somebody lost items, they get charged still.
Okay, so that's
So
probably
I
a
would
lot of
assume
children's
that's
books.
probably
Yeah,
what it was.
yeah. Okay. I thought, maybe I should have been paying all this time.
Years and years.
Yeah, no late fees, just if you
Just
lose
if
it,
you
lose it, then.
lose, okay.
And even then, we try to be pretty liberal, so.
We need to approve.
Yeah, so
It's kind of like a magic marker.
Motion
are we good on questions?
Oh,
Motion to approve.
Move to approve the bills.
Second.
Second.
Okay, quick roll call to approve the bills. Carolyn Coffey,
Yes.
Sarah Pease.
Yes.
Alex Viteri.
Yes.
Brooke Joel.
Yes.
Steve Brown.
Yes.
Mary Lou Lawrence.
Yes.
Megan Rinzzi.
Yep.
Catherine Harvey. Yes, also, so. Okay, good. So bills are good. Okay, so for me this month, I'm gonna sort of just combine the CLT and Friends in my report. Because the main thing that I want to talk about is just the need for some help for both the CLT and the Friends. One sec. CLT is in need of another trustee liaison delegate, however you want to call. We need another trustee on the CLT board because Carolyn's term is coming to an end. She has to roll off. So we need somebody else to step forward. and
What
help
sort of
us with
skill
that.
sets would be missing or most needed?
Oh,
So Barb, with Jen, Anyabene, and I all roll off. We are
Whoa.
the development committee.
Hmm.
So
And
the
you're
whole
all
development committee is
rolling
that
off.
all three of us,
wow.
this is our 6th year. All three of us came on at the same time. Barb is the president, I am the clerk, Jen is the head of development. So we need development and,
Poor planning.
yes,
So,
agreed.
so could
We had a very strong pledge class.
So could you conceivably, not be on the official,
List.
board, but have a little subcommittee where you're still running the?
Well,
I mean, you have a lot
we're
of
gonna have,
people on.
we're gonna have to continue to be involved
Yeah, yeah,
for
exactly.
the pavilion.
Okay, good, that's what I was
But
concerned
until
about.
that rolls off, yeah.
Okay, good.
But we'll still, and we did, get Cara Bianchi and Catherine are both on the development committee too for the pavilion, so they're both,
Mhm.
still on, which is great. And, but we need, we will get more development people. But as Catherine said,
But there
we're
needs to be a
required to have
trustee.
2 trustees. And we did finally get it so that it wasn't 2 trustees joining at the same time and rolling off at the same time. But we'll need somebody else to join.
Yeah, so.
Are you also looking for someone for Friends? Or not?
So what I was gonna say about the Friends is, I'm content to keep going to the meetings and whatever, so that's fine. We've had that conversation before. I don't always make it, but I usually sort of can stay up to date, whatever. The Friends needs board members. So, any trustee who's going to the Friends meeting, you can't vote on it, you can help out, and they definitely need volunteers. And so if anybody feels like taking a stack of thank you notes, for instance, they're gonna be needing that. They're in pretty dire need right now because, Jen Evans is now obviously an employee of the library, so
Still her.
she's not on the Friends board anymore. And there is work to be done, and so they're in
How
need.
many are there?
Let's see, it's Beth, Barbara, Lanier,
Sandra,
Sandra Perry, and,
Meg Wheeler.
right, Meg Wheeler, and then one new person who just came, to her first meeting, Melissa, whose last name I don't know. Do you? Sounds-
Well, I saw something on Instagram the other day about the library friends were looking for members.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that was very bold.
Yes,
Very good.
I think that was Meg's trying to,
Yeah.
yes,
That's
get that out.
great.
It is great,
It is
yeah, it is
good,
great, and
yeah.
I think she's trying to build that presence online. So, if you know anybody who's looking for something to do, please send them to the Friends, and, ask around, because,
What is
the
it-
bench is
what
not
is
very
it
deep,
entail
let's say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
often?
one meeting a month from September to June. So nothing goes on in the summer. The appeal, as Alice can attest, and I want to say thank you, Alice, for reaching out and for going to the meeting last week or last month. Engagement and sort of cross collaboration among our boards is really sort of what I'm getting at. We all need to be able to support each other. So it's going to the meeting once a month. And then, it's really a pretty light lift. I mean, the thank you notes ends up being a little bit of work. But it usually gets split up. So that's sort of like December, January, taking a stack of notes to do. It's not that big a deal. And then just other small tasks. It's not, it's not a heavy lift, but, Beth Tarpey and Barbara Wren have been really shouldering the burden for,
A long time.
a decade or more. And so it would be nice to sort of, offload some of the tasks.
It also needs to be open to listen.
Yeah.
By the folks that have been on the board for a long time. You
Yeah.
should also have open to listen.
Yeah,
I would argue that that is not 100% there. So,
well,
I mean, I'm not saying that not doing their fair share and they're heavy lifting. I'm just saying that there should be, like, if there's not an ability to change, no one's gonna wanna join.
okay, so, I mean, yeah, I think
Good
that some communication skills, are needed. So-
I will not contribute into this.
Yeah,
Fast.
it's not for everybody, but let's please cast the net as widely as we can. So just to finish up on the Friends, they approved a level services budget, which was submitted by Megan, so that's excellent, and actually programming came in under budget last year. And the appeal was up. They collected over $6,000 from the book bins. So financially, I think they're in a much healthier position at this point than they would have guessed a year ago, because they were concerned going into last year's appeal, because, costs had gone up dramatically, as is true in everywhere. But it all seemed to work out pretty well. I have to say that they worked very hard at really mining their list of donors and making the most of that, as we talked about before. They, going back to, past donors who had not given it and did a targeted letter writing campaign. And so there was a lot of work involved, but it was fruitful. And so they're in a good position financially for the year, and probably in a good position to, again, fund level services for next year. I mean, a year from now. The appeal letter is going out fairly soon. I think it's probably gonna be end of the month. So that's basically the deal with the Friends.
And they're working with you in terms of the postcard, so that.
So it's good. Did the postcard go out?
Postcard went out today. That's for the CLT.
Right. Yeah, so that was the only other thing. For CLT, we're still at 197 for the pavilion. I don't know if anybody has seen the article that came out in the Anchor this week, and which was excellent.
And there
The
is
banner,
banner.
yes. And the postcard, obviously, haven't gone out today, should be arriving in mailboxes.
So we're at 197 now?
Plus the 200 in grants. So we're just about at $400,000. And then I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Add the construction part of the.
Yeah, go for it.
So I did talk to the owner's project manager this afternoon. And the Chris McFarland, who did the drawings, is adding specifications to them. And he's also doing an alternate with the precast concrete blocks that I passed around last night. You guys didn't see it, but I have it on my phone from Notre Dame as depending on how the prices come in, the brick facing walls, if they end up being super expensive, Notre Dame has an amphitheater with precast concrete blocks that looks very attractive and could be potentially less expensive. We would still do the brick facing along the patio wall, but maybe for the amphitheater seating. I'll show you the picture in a minute. In any event, Chris is doing the specifications so that he hopes to have them done next week, so that in 2 weeks we could post it and start getting information. The owner's project manager and Chris are both not wholly enthusiastic about using the town site work provider because they think that if they take away too much dirt and then they'll be finger pointing, like if you have it all with one contractor, it's just cleaner, which I understand. But $300,000 is the magic threshold for being able to use local providers that aren't necessarily, pre-approved by the state. And so we'll be able to go out and if nothing else, we'll get cost information in from contractors who might respond. And then we can figure out what to do, but realistically speaking, we probably aren't gonna start doing any digging until February, because at this point in time, even if they dug now, you wouldn't be able to get grass down. It'll wash away over the winter, and, it'll mess up the walkway back here and everything, and so realistically, we probably don't wanna break ground, but we'll at least get some good cost information and know how much more fundraising we have to do to make it happen. And Megan was gonna start looking into furniture in her spare time. Megan in the building committee, to see how much we should budget for that. So that was that on the
Great.
construction part.
Fantastic. And that's.
We also have an article going into the stroll, but that's not happening now until December, because they don't have room for us in November.
Okay. Well, but that's not a bad time to do it, end of year giving.
Mhm.
And,
That's a
and they're
good one.
also including our, kind of, that was a gift because they promised us November and can't give it to us, they're also putting the postcard in with the article as well. So they're gonna
Nice.
have the article and then they'll re-reference the postcard.
That's great.
Great.
I think that's actually
Possibly
maybe
better.
even better.
Yeah, great.
Good. All right, well, that's it from me. Any new business? Anything anybody would like to add? All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody.